We really need Battlefield 5. I bought way too many copies of 4. I can't buy anymore. A while ago, a rumor was going around that Battlefield 5 was going to be set in World War I. I thought it was a hilarious joke, but it actually gained some traction in the Battlefield community, and still months later I get asked my thoughts on it. The Battlefield series is known for its diversity in gameplay styles, all in one game. Whether it be infantry combat, land vehicle combat, air vehicle combat, squad tactics, commander options, so many things. And look, when the Battlefield series veered away from the variety it's known for, many fans didn't enjoy what they got. So I decided to make this video about when Battlefield 5 will be. So let's start here on the timeline World War I, and why it makes for a bad setting for a game. Well, it wouldn't. It would make a bad setting for a Battlefield game. There are shooters out there that have made compelling experiences out of the World War I setting. For example, Verdun is a shooter completely based in trench warfare, and can be a lot of fun moving in and out of trenches, never knowing what's around the next corner. But this game is mainly infantry focused, same as the war it was based on. While there were some early tanks in service during World War I, majority of the fighting took place in trenches. So for Verdun, it makes sense, but for Battlefield, it doesn't. World War I would be extremely limited in its weapon selection as well as its vehicle options. In the past, the Battlefield series has strived for historical accuracy, and I don't see the armaments of World War I being that fun without some bending of the truth. So while other games may find a home in World War I feel the limited scope of the era would extremely limit the Battlefield series. Now we're looking at World War II, a setting thoroughly explored in the gaming industry. A clear time with good guys and bad guys. The Nazis were the ideal enemy for gaming, as you don't really need a reason to be fighting them. It's interesting to see how we've come full circle. While years ago World War II shooters were seen as milked to death, now modern military shooters are being overdone, and many are looking for a return to simpler days, as you can see with the announcement of games like Battalion 1944. The Battlefield series itself started in the World War II setting with Battlefield 1942. Amazing these games have been coming out since then. I've actually said in the past that Battlefield has almost not changed as much as Call of Duty, a series criticized for its yearly release of the same game. Battlefield 1942 is remarkably similar to Battlefield 4, despite the addition of a few features like squad spawning. That being said, there's another critical addition that the World War II setting doesn't allow. Unlocks, unlocks, unlocks. Along with the shift from World War II shooters to modern shooters, we saw the addition of unlocks added to these types of games. While games beforehand were content with just having multiplayer experiences to keep you coming back, games of the modern era started adding progression trees, unlocks, skill rankings, making players feel like they were always working towards something bigger and better. These features weren't often seen in World War II, and I think that's because of the setting. Guns during that time lacked the addition of red dot sights, vertical grips, laser sights, the list goes on. Same with the vehicles of World War II. They did have a much bigger focus on vehicle combat and air combat, but they were still much simpler compared to today, lacking the ability of flares and guided missiles that make air combat so engaging in modern Battlefield games. While this time period is getting closer to what we have in modern FPS games, it still falls short of the variety we have in the modern era. The Battlefield series has actually taken place in the Vietnam era before, in both the obviously named Battlefield Vietnam and Battlefield Bad Company 2's Vietnam expansion. Both were fun experiences for sure, especially Bad Company 2's. I think I played that more than the main game itself. But, much like World War II, the same points apply. Lack of weapons, vehicles, and add-ons are still present, even though they are getting closer to matching the modern era. Games have worked in this setting, incorporating modern elements like unlocks, but again, to me, it would be a step backwards from where we are now in the Battlefield series. The best part of this setting would be the sweet music playing in the chopper. I hereby award Vietnam the best music of any war ever! Now we get to modern times, where Battlefield games are currently set, and have been for the past 5 games. Sure, you can say they take place in the near future, like a few years from now, but that's just an excuse to have China attack the US. Like how Marty McFly traveled to the year 2015. Ooh, futuristic. By the way, these aren't hoverboards. Stop calling them that. What is this? Right there. Contact with the ground. It's not hovering. Anyways, I think there's a reason the Battlefield series and the shooter market in general has landed on the modern era for so long. The Battlefield series has been pretty much the same setting since Battlefield 2. Not counting this, but we'll get to that in a second. For the most part, Battlefield has remained in modern times since 2, and I think that comes down to a few reasons. One is the previously mentioned variety this setting allows. Having a wide range of different combat methods just means a bigger game for us. In Battlefield, you can shoot at close range, shoot at long range, shoot at ground vehicles, shoot at air vehicles, drive ground vehicles, pilot air vehicles, repair vehicles, plant traps vehicles, boats, air-to-ground combat, air-to-air combat, drive drones to repair things, drive drones to kill things, command your squad, command the entire team. You get my point. The Battlefield series is probably the most varied game there is when it comes to all of these elements working together in one match. Some of the elements in Battlefield have been considered their own games in the past, like Ace Combat for air combat or World of Tanks for ground vehicles. Battlefield pulls them all together into one game, and while it doesn't always do it perfectly, when it does, it's an impressive display that's only possible with the variety of the modern era of war! Now let me include the future sci-fi stuff before I continue, and to me that's the elements that are way beyond recent times. Things like a simple hover tank and railguns as seen in the Final Stand DLC, I think still count as modern times, just tweaks on things we already have. I mean true sci-fi, think Halo, Titanfall, Mass Effect, things that are completely out of our possibility, at least right now. I bring these games up because another reason I think the modern era has stuck so much in gaming is because it's what we understand, it's what we live in. It's much easier to explain to a player what a red dot scope is compared to an ionized view chamber, or whatever. Most people at some point have seen or at least heard of these. Now the sci-fi setting could work the same way as the modern era, and in some ways even more so, allowing developers to come up with any kind of vehicle or weapon their imaginations can come up with. But the further you get from our understanding, the harder it becomes to explain everything to the player. You could have a million unlocks for guns and vehicles, one that makes you shoot Twinkies, one that surrounds your entire tank and cake to deflect incoming Twinkie fire. I must be hungry. I must be hungry. I must be hungry? I don't know if I can get this line to work here. But these add-ons are a little weird, and I don't know what they do right off the bat. Kind of like the Plants vs. Zombie Garden Warfare games. Those games have a bunch of different classes that are good at specific jobs, but I couldn't tell you what any of them do right off the bat without really sinking into the game and figuring out every detail. But in Battlefield, in the modern era, I know what the guy with the sniper rifle does. I know what the guy with the RPG is. These elements are clear to us, and while I'm not saying these make for better games, they make them easier to understand to a mass market. Having unlocks like this also leads to more DLC opportunities, and opportunities for players to buy Battlefield points to unlock all of these things. Another trend that's been inching its way into the gaming industry is microtransactions. Now I don't think these are good for modern gaming, but I think it's another reason that games with more variety are better for companies to pick. Why pick a setting that limits the amount of stuff you can put in the game to sell? I noticed Halo 5 added an entire mode, Warzone, just to be able to charge for Halo points or whatever. It was a game mode no one asked for, but because they couldn't shove microtransactions into the already established multiplayer formula, they found another way. So while this trend sucks, I think it explains why Battlefield 5 will take place in modern times. It just makes sense from a marketing, gameplay, and design perspective. So what were they gonna do in World War I? Announcing War Bonds, $5.99 get you 2,000 War Bond points to buy additional bayonet skins and cigarettes. On the most fundamental level, I also think it just comes down to being cool. As stupid as that sounds, modern military stuff is just cooler to more people. World War I and II are old, and making sci-fi worlds not come off as this nerdy thing can be difficult. Not that it matters if you like these things, but if we're going to break it down, more people feel comfortable in a world that they understand. Just a little observation, but all the cool kids are playing Battlefield. Shut up, Call of Duty! Battlefield. I actually really like Black Ops 3, but anyways. So Battlefield 5 will be a modern military shooter, but what can they do in that setting that hasn't been done before? Plug for the next video, maybe? Or maybe I should upload more Dark Souls videos, because you guys love that. Dark Souls is hard but fair, and I think more gamers need to know that. Yeah, I think I'll stick with Battlefield. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and trying to figure out the whole when Battlefield 5 will be. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Am I spot on? Am I right? Am I fucking wrong? Watch them next week announce Battlefield 5 is futuristic World War I Wolfenstein crossover game. I don't know. But thank you so much for watching. If you guys like this video, please hit that like button to subscribe. No, don't do that, because that's the opposite of what you do. Hit the like button to support the show and subscribe to the channel if you're not. That's the saying, Anthony. Stupid, 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 stupid.